Hey everybody, it's Professor Malat. Welcome to week 4. You have survived writing your first essay. Good for you. So that first essay, that personal narrative, was a twofold purpose. I assigned it not only because you need to get practice writing, but also it helps me to gauge where you are with your English writing skills. And that way, that helps me to develop a plan to best help you as students. So we're going to change gears now. We are moving out of personal narrative. And we're now going to be focusing on the nuts and bolts of what this thing called composition is. Essentially, we are going to be focusing on the topic of rhetoric, and we're going to examine rhetorical appeals, the rhetorical situation, and all of the various things that go into writing. When we set ourselves to the task of writing, there are all these different things that come into play. So we're going to be focusing on some of those things, learning how they come into play, learning how they affect us as writers and also as readers. So let me share my screen here and take a look at the week 4 module. As I said, we're going to be discussing rhetoric, rhetorical appeals, and rhetorical choices that writers make in greater detail. So you'll learn how to, or you'll get a basic understanding of what this thing called rhetoric is. You'll understand what the rhetorical situation is. Sometimes that's also referred to as the writing situation. We call it the rhetorical situation because rhetoric is not only something that is solely focused on in writing, but it's also something that we think about when we're actually speaking. What the situation comes into play as speaking. So we use rhetoric or the rhetorical as kind of an umbrella term to encompass both reading, or not reading, both writing and speaking. So I like to use the term rhetoric instead of writing or speaking situation. We will also be learning how to identify some of the components of rhetoric. What are the things that come into play when we are writing or speaking? We'll learn about the different rhetorical appeals, learn about the basics of a rhetorical analysis. That is actually the second essay that you will be writing for this class. That's not due this week. Don't panic. And then you'll reflect upon rhetoric in everyday communication, as well as analyze rhetorical effectiveness in a given text. Text in quotation marks. I don't have the quotation marks here, but I will be using text as the general term for the thing that you are going to be examining the various aspects of rhetoric. It could be a piece of writing, it could be a speech, it could be a visual text, a visual thing, visual medium such as a film, a commercial, anything that you come across visually. So we'll talk more about that. So let's take a look at this week's readings. Obviously, we have a little bit more grammar to do. We will be focusing on commas this week. So I want you to read from the University of Mississippi Rhet Lab, commas and commas as separators. You will then be quizzed on that, just 5 questions. Hopefully, you're getting the hang of the quizzes. Remember that if you don't do well the first time, you can go back and retake the quiz. Not a problem. I'm not focusing so much on things that you're memorizing as well as just hoping that you get the opportunity to understand the concepts that are being discussed in these grammar readings. I also have 2 other readings from the Rhet Lab focusing on analysis and rhetorical analysis. Let me call those up and open up those pages so you get a look at those pages. I only want you to read this first page on what is analysis, because the rest of the stuff, we don't really need to dig into it. If you want to read it, that's fine by me, but you're not required to read it. They have some additional pages that I really don't feel are pertinent to help you understand what analysis is. As you can see, I'm clicking through just the various things. We won't go too much into analytical thesis because that's not really in the scope of this class. And eventually we'll get into the different types of analysis, right? We're focusing on rhetorical analysis for this class and for this portion of the class, not the whole class, but for the portion of the class. So this essentially explains, this page explains what rhetorical analysis is, what's expected of a rhetorical analysis. And if you want to, you can go through and do the little practice exercises that they have here. There are 2 questions, and it's a self-checking thing. You don't, again, are not required to do that, but if you're interested in understanding more, these little practice questions are usually very helpful. So that is the reading from the UM Lab. To recap, just read the what is analysis page and the rhetorical analysis page. You're not required to read anything else from that module. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. As an optional reading, this is completely up to you. There is a module on rhetorical appeals, and you would have to go through the whole thing, but I think the other information that I provide to you in other media will help explain things a little bit better. So that's up to you. If you want to take the extra time and go through the rhetorical appeals module, you're more than welcome to do that. And then we get into introducing you to the rhetorical analysis assignment. So I want you to take a look at pages 86 to 90 in the PDF version of the Writer's Practice. TWP is shorthand for the Writer's Practice. I'm going to open that PDF up here on my screen and share that with you. And this is called Who Are We? This is the rhetorical analysis of a commercial. So if you read a few of these pages, you read some introductory information that John Warner gives. He is asking you to imagine that an alien race has been collecting intelligence about the US or about Americans, based entirely on a single medium, the television commercial. If you are a fan of football and you sit and you watch the Super Bowl, you know that companies spend lots and lots of money to have these Super Bowl spots, and they usually come up with very engaging and funny commercials to show during the Super Bowl. So he goes into a couple of examples. He talks about a Corona Light commercial from 2012, as well as a Bud Light commercial, and how these commercials contribute to what they're trying, not only the product that is trying to be sold, but also a way of life that is trying to be sold. So with this rhetorical analysis assignment, your task is to engage in a process of observation. I want you to watch those commercials, watch a commercial, analyze the commercial, think about it, and synthesize the information in an effort to uncover what a single commercial might say about American culture. So your audience would be, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through these things. Your audience is interested in looking deeper into our experiences of the world and being shown something they didn't initially recognize. So read through those pages and you'll get a little better grasp of what the rhetorical analysis assignment is all about. Now, the rhetorical analysis assignment, let me click on assignments just to make you not panic. Rhetorical analysis rough draft is not due until June 11th. So we are chugging right along. but you'll have a couple of weeks before you have to do the final version of the rhetorical analysis paper. So let me jump back to week 4 and talk more about this assignment handout. So I also want you to read this assignment handout. This will explain what it is that I'm looking for as you approach the rhetorical analysis of a commercial for essay number 2. So as I said, read the writing prompt titled "Who Are We?" That is one of your assignments for reading this week. And then write an essay of 3 to 4 pages, about 800 to 1,000 words, in which you examine not only, quote unquote, the text of an advertisement, but also the subtext. What is really being sold besides the product, right? What is the advertiser trying to convey to you? So I've provided an outline, which should help you a bit. You can read through that. And then we have some additional information here to explain it a little bit better. So you're not just going to summarize the commercial, but you're also going to be examining and writing about the techniques that the author, the creator, uses, then the topic of the piece. So you may discover that to judge the effectiveness of the ad fully, you need to think about how the text contributes to a debate or asks or answers an important question, that subtext that Warner refers to in this week's reading. So you're going to be thinking about the ways in which the creators of the commercial use language, use images, use how they appeal to emotion or logic or credibility. Those are the rhetorical appeals. The deliberate style or structure of the commercial, any type of repetition, images, audio, color, pacing, so on and so forth. We'll talk more about this. I'll explain more about this in the coming weeks. So this is just to give you a taste of the things that you really need to be observing as you watch a commercial. Submission details, there's some links here. And to remember that formal writing assignments need to be typed and uploaded as a document on the Canvas assignment submission page. If you need to figure out how to get Google Docs to work with Canvas, I suggest that you download and save your document from Google Docs as a Word doc or a PDF. I do not accept shared documents from your Google account. It just makes things really clunky and difficult to review and make comments on. But that is something, again, I will discuss further in the upcoming weeks. So we have some important dates related to this assignment. This week, you will have a discussion board, and that is solely for you to discuss the advertisement that you have selected that you're going to write about in the coming weeks. So that will be due on the 4th, Sunday the 4th, and then your rough draft will be due the following week, Sunday the 11th. The week after that, we will have a required peer review, so you will actually be sharing documents with one another and commenting and making suggestions for revision. That will be due on the 18th. And then the following week will be your final revision of the rhetorical analysis paper, essay number 2, due on the 25th. So that is the timeline of work that you have in the coming weeks. And I will be working to get those weeks open so that you'll be able to see the materials that you need in order to complete the assignments. I almost have everything up to date. I just don't have my videos recorded. I like to do that on a week-to-week basis. And the other things, I think I need to get the grammar quizzes situated. But I think everything else I pretty much have up to date. I think I have all the journal assignments and all the discussion. Well, I need to work on discussion boards. Okay, so that is the rhetorical analysis of an advertisement. Need to close that. So those things are the things that you need to read. As far as videos to watch this week, you're watching this overview video. There is also a short lecture on rhetoric. It's only about 9 minutes long. A heads up for that, it was recorded for a previous course, so I make some references to a different book that I'm not using for this course, but the information in that lecture is still very relevant to what we're working with this week and in the coming weeks. So I highly recommend that you watch that lecture. Then I have here 12 examples of rhetorical appeal. So this is actually a website, but it has several example videos that are embedded in the website, and I think it's very helpful. I recommend that you watch at least 3 so that you understand the context of the rhetorical analysis assignment. So I'm going to open up this page and show you what I'm talking about. Move my video up. So we have 12 examples of ethos, pathos, and logos in advertisements. They have a contents box at the top of the page, which is very helpful for navigating. But I want you to scroll through. You can do some reading to understand the various definitions of ethos, pathos, and logos. And then it comes down to the various examples. And so they focus on one rhetorical appeal for each of these first few videos. So we have Thank You Mom, P&G. We have Flex Seal, which is relying on logos. We have Believe in a Better Way, Laughing Man Coffee, which relies on ethos. Then we have another example of pathos with the Wiener Stampede from Heinz. This one is super cute. I just watched it. That's from Super Bowl 2016. We have, again, another example of logos for Versatile Stain Remover, OxyClean. This one is a bit older. Those of you who are older will probably remember a number of these commercials. The younger people might not remember them so much. We have, again, an example of ethos, a mission for our oceans, Adidas X Parley. So it's a collaboration between Adidas and Parley, who is an ultra marathon runner. And then what else do we have? Pathos, Friends Forever from Android. And then Logos, Blue Blocker Sunglasses. This one is really, really old. So that will be kind of a blast from the past. And then we have another example of ethos, Decon Spray. This one is pretty old too, featuring Muhammad Ali, who is a boxer. And then we have some examples of how advertisers sometimes use several different modes of persuasion in their advertising. So we have a combination here of pathos and ethos. I Can Do Better from Gatorade. Pathos and logos, The Man Your Man Could Smell Like from Old Spice. And then we have pathos, logos, and ethos with the George Foreman Grill. Again, a recap. This infographic down below has a recap of the 3 modes of persuasion and then a conclusion here. So this is a really helpful page, and you're welcome to choose any of those commercials if you find those are interesting, or you can just jump on YouTube and look up commercials and pick a commercial from there. I do want to make note that I have also linked 2 commercials that Warner talks about in the writer's practice, the reading for this week, but there is a content warning for that. So these commercials that are mentioned by Warner contain images and messages that surround beer culture, as well as references to swearing and cursing, and they might seem like insensitive or offensive commercials to some people. They're not required viewing, so if you don't want to view them, that's fine. They're provided solely for the context so that you understand what Warner is talking about as you go through the reading. I just linked them for your convenience. So of course, I could leave it up to you to go and search the internet for these ads, but so I just put them here as a matter of convenience. Again, they are not required viewing. So if you have some problems about, consumption of alcohol or, offensive use of language, then please don't watch them. But I just wanted to put that content warning there for you so that you knew before you went and clicked and you're like, oh my goodness, what is this woman trying to teach us? I'm not trying to teach you anything through those commercials. They're solely for context. So again, grammar quiz number 4, make sure you do the readings on commas this week. And then the discussion board, I do want to talk a little bit about that. So I'm going to open up the assignment. This is a place for you to brainstorm and collaborate. Remember, collaboration is a big thing that we do in the real world, and there's no problem that you do it here also in this class, working with other students. You might find that another student has chosen the same ad or one that's similar to your ideas. And this is a great way for you to bounce ideas off of one another. So it's a good idea to do that here. So what I want you to do is to choose an advertisement. It can be a commercial or it could be a print ad. It's up to you. So I want you to share the name of the commercial or the product that's being advertised. Try to be as specific as possible so we know what you're talking about. If you have a link to the commercial, like a YouTube or a link to the image, if you've chosen a print ad, please share it here. And remember, print ads can include things like billboards. So if you see a billboard every day on your way to work or you're running errands or something like that, maybe you can safely locate that image or, snap an image, snap a picture of that image if you want to. I'm just putting that out there. Please don't get into a car accident or anything like that. Explain why you've chosen that ad. Is it funny, interesting? Does it piss you off? Do the advertisers use someone you like as their spokesperson? Is there some other reason? This also goes for Instagram ads. So if you people are into Instagram, I know that a lot of advertisers use influencers to promote their product. You could even talk about that. So, try to include that link so that we have access to it. And lastly, the question I ask of you, what do you think is the primary rhetorical strategy used in the ad? So if you think back to the website where we have 12 examples, are they using ethos? Are they using pathos? Are they using logos? Or is there some combination of those 3? And then I want you to comment on 2 peers' posts in a meaningful way. So your initial post is due Sunday the 4th, and then your follow-up responses will be due Wednesday, June 7th. So that is the discussion board. And then we have journal number 4. This one is favorites. It's not really related to what we're doing with rhetorical analysis, but I do want to give you a weekly opportunity to use writing and to write something in which you are interested. So this one, we're focusing on our favorites this week. What is your favorite book, movie, or video game? What is it about it that draws you in? Is there a storyline? Is there action? Is there a certain character? Is it the way language is being used? What makes the story interesting or not so interesting? So if you think back to week 2, where we had the Stanton video talking about story and narrative and the things that make it interesting, the things that grab the viewer in, right? If you think about what your favorite book or movie or video game, there is something that draws you in, right? Something about the story, something about the narrative that draws you in. Um, I'm kind of reaching here because it is a little bit related to the commercial or the ad, right? There is something about the ad. When you choose an ad to write about, there's something about that ad that has engaged you, right? There might be some kind of storyline, or there might be something that's interesting. There might be a character that's interesting, or the way that language or images are being used that reaches out to you, right? So this is quasi-related. But hopefully, you can write about anything as long as it's a book, movie, or video game, right? Your choice. And that is 25 points, again, due Sunday, June 4th. So I think I've covered everything for this week. Between the readings and the videos, I think you'll get a better understanding of what rhetoric is, as well as the rhetorical situation and how authors and creators use the rhetorical appeals for a specific and very deliberate purpose, right? To get some kind of response from a particular audience. So in the coming weeks, we'll see how all of these things kind of weave themselves together for a desired effect. I will talk more about this in week 5. If you have any questions or concerns, you know how to get in touch with me. Good luck and have fun with this. Bye, everybody.